It was a crisp autumn evening. The leaves were losing grip on the branches and the scent of iron and salt was in the air as I walked towards the latest crime scene. This should have been an open and shut case and I would have been home for The Simpsons. But this was different. There was something slimy about it, and I wasn't prepared for the outcome.
So, what do we have here? Who is the victim?
Another deathcore kid got hit hard, blood everywhere. Whoever is doing this is brutal. He bludgeoned the head with a hammer. We also found a tape recorder left next to the body.
Have you listened to the tape yet?
Not yet, we were waiting for you to check it out.
What is it? What have you found?
There are worms in his pockets.
Very interesting. Who is this guy?
Sir, we have the tape ready to listen to.
Do it. I got it.
Sir?
Go get your second in command. You're going on a little field trip. I want to have a chat with Tom Barber.
Hi guys, and welcome back to another Metal Roast review. Hope you're doing well. If you're new to the channel, go ahead, hit that subscribe button to keep up to date on all the content coming out. Anyway, today we have a special review as we are going to be looking at the debut album from blackened deathcore project Worm Shepherd. So Worm Shepherd is a band from the East Coast that have brought out their debut album by the name of In the Wake of Soul. This blend came out a few weeks ago on Christmas Day, so even if you weren't able to see your families, thanks Boris, you could at least sit by the fire, get a cup of mulled wine, listen to some cheeky deathcore to warm your heart. So overall, on my first impressions, I thought it was a very solid album, even though it did tend to wear its influences on its sleeve. But at the same time, I find that also justifiable when it is your debut album. You're still trying to figure out your sound. So with all that in mind, I will be giving this band a bit of a handicap with the hindsight that in the future, they will become even better and more unique in their own sound. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like and let's do this. So to kick off this review, we look at the opening track called Accursed. I also did a reaction to this a while back, so I will leave a link to that somewhere. But pretty much this is them really showing off their influences, and not gonna lie, I did feel like it was a song that was very much them trying to do their own take on Lorna Shore track. But regardless of that, I still thought it was great. I thought the opening where they used Spanish guitars was very unique. It definitely did remind me of like an opening that Lorna Shore would have done, but having sort of that Spanish guitar had its own timbre, so I still liked it. And a really cool thing about this track was that it also featured guest vocal spot by Alex Koelher, which if you don't know, he's a veteran vocalist and also ex-vocalist of the band Chelsea Grin. And man, it was really nice to hear his vocals again, that iconic Marge Simpson style vocals. And he brings definitely like a really nice timbre and aesthetic to the track. He has that grittiness, that sort of inhale scream effect that is so iconic of him, and it really fit, and it was really nice to see it. I felt a bit nostalgic hearing it and I loved it. But overall, as an opener, it was great. Really set the tone, set the mood of the album for more brutality and intensity. Moving on, our second track, we have the title track, In the Wake of Soul. Sees the band sort of going more into their own when it comes to their sound and quality, where we have moments where the vocalist is doing his more of a whistly type of scream that's reminiscent of Shrine of Malice, as well as ridiculously low gutturals. This was a cool blend of where you could hear the influences that they were getting inspired by, such as Lorna Shore, but they were still also doing their own thing with it. I enjoyed also the break in the track as well to sort of give a bit of an ease before the more chaos ensues. And on top of that, I really like the outro, which also reminded me of the track This Is Hell from Lorna Shore itself. And also I have to mention his vocals definitely sound like Tom Barber back in the days of Flesh Coffin. If anything, that's quite impressive to do those. And yeah, so as a title track, I thought it was pretty solid. Continuing on to peel back the layers of the onion that is this album, we come up with the track Ragnarok, which opens up with this sort of orchestration, grandiose section that reminded me a lot of Intro to Resilient by the band Betraying the Martyrs. This then leads into this very chaotic fast section, and I wish kind of that the transition would have been done a bit more cleanly. I felt like it was just going from one to the next without any sort of like smooth entrance into the situation. And then from that, I felt like the band sort of lost some steam, and the track, they were trying to rebuild up that intensity that was from the intro with the epicness. And luckily with the length of the track, they were able to achieve that. But still, I felt like it was sort of, it worked against them. One of the things I also do have to mention is the fact that with long songs like this, because I think this is the longest track on the album, it was impressive to see that they were able to maintain my attention for the entire track. Usually with tracks that go on for extended periods of time, the biggest sort of concern going into these tracks is that can you retain the attention of the listener for the period of time? And I will say that they were successfully able to do this. And also this track had them trying to do full-blown riffs with the whole detuned guitar section. And might as well talk about it now. I felt that they had put their sort of pitch shifting utility, whatever, be it be a whammy or just a straight pitch shifter, I felt like they put it after the amplifier, and what it ended up doing was it detuned their guitar tone as well, and due to that it gave it a very sort of low mid-range muddiness. I didn't really see it benefiting the band. I think if they'd put the whammy or the pitch shifter before the amplifier and it was detuning the DI signal or just the raw signal from the guitar, I think it would have cut a bit better in the mix, but that's just my opinion. It could have just been a stylistic choice. I think a great example of really detuned guitars that still sound great in a mix and cut is, of course, Humanitas Last Breath or Viljarta, where they're constantly going between regular tuning to detuned and back and forth, and it still sounds completely coherent and tight. We now look at the track Wretchedness Upon the Gate, which features the vocalist David Simonich, who is the vocalist from the band Signs of the Swarm. Overall, I think as a feature, he works perfectly for this kind of band. He brings his own form of gutturals and screams that are very grotesque and in your face and just disgusting in nature. And I said this also when I did my Signs of the Swarm reaction. I cannot understand a goddamn word he says. The main vocalist as well also brings his own touch of what I would best describe as a Dickie Allen feel, where at moments I definitely felt like, oh, this could have been on like a track by Infant Annihilator. And I thought it was really cool that they sampled like a musical toy box. It really broke up the section and it really built up the intensity that was going to come afterwards with their breakdown, due to the fact it created such an intense dynamic shift. But it really worked. I thought it was really cool. Also, I hadn't heard people sampling such things as a toy box since maybe like a band like I Valence.
That is all well and good, but isn't there something you're forgetting?
Detective, he is waiting for you in the room.
Great. Wife just told me that she has put the lasagna in the oven, so I need to finish this up quick. Hello Tom, it has been a while. So are you going to confess?
I didn't do it. I have never killed anyone.
Come on Tom, your voice is all over this.
That ain't me. I have never sung anything like that. I mean I could, but I swear it wasn't me.
God damn it Tom, who else do you think could sound like this?
Wasn't me. I swear.
Well, maybe a couple of fists will knock the memory back into place.
So we have an emergency.
What?
There has been a call about a hostage situation. This could be our guy.
Shit, let's head out. Let's see who this worm guy is.
Moving into the back half of the album, I felt like this is where the band really shined and came into their own. It felt like more they were doing their own thing with the sound. In my opinion, really paid off, adding elements that I've not heard much of done by other bands, so I was really pleased to hear. And to start it off, we look at The Emptiness Between Stars. This track kicks off with this sort of section, which I thought was really cool. It set this very depressive mood, and in general, the second half of the album sees them going for that more atmospheric, moodier vibe. This track in particular definitely sees the band slowing down a bit and really letting all the instruments breathe, and it really sounds amazing. It creates a bit of a lull in the album, which I think is very necessary when we've come to about the midpoint. It brings a more of a melodic element to the piece, and with the chugging adding that sadness to it, I sort of had this sort of feeling of being homeless in the middle of a forest in the middle of winter. It was great. It really had a lot of atmosphere and it really paid off. Moving forward, we have the track Frozen Lake, which the main thing I have to say about it is it has that intro, that sort of pitched down spoken word intro that reminded me of the Chelsea Grin track Across Here, but overall it was a great track. I definitely see a lot more of them delving into the more black metal side of their sound, not just being this sort of aggressive chugginess that bludgeons you in the head non-stop. Tracks like Ether, where they definitely showed a more mature writing style, where instead of just having chuggy breakdown style riffs one after the other, it sees them going for more of a cleaner, sort of more, melodic, atmospheric style that was lacking in the first half of the album. I like the fact that they don't over embellish in the orchestration of the track and make it more of a orchestral sort of sounding album and becoming that whole symphonic style, but they do use it sparingly, which I really do like, because at the end of the day, this is a blackened deathcore album. And to stay on topic of the whole orchestration and using it sparingly, we have the track Loathe, which definitely sees them using strings in a very sparingly but effective manner, where the strings galvanize the rhythm section that the guitars are playing, adding more epicness, a lot more grandioseness to the overall track in general. And they're also utilizing the strings as a way to change the timbre of the song, where they had the small break and using the strings to change the emotional impact by it going more darker and eviler. And to close it out, they use strings as a way to give that cinematic ending. Yeah, I love this track. Loathe is great. And then we come to the end of the album with the track The Crimson Moon Unwithered, which opens with these very boisterous, bombastic male choir, which reminded me of when I used to play Skyrim and that Fuz Roda intro, the Dragon Slayer intro. Yeah, it created this level of epicness, and on top of that, adding in a piano as a way to transition from the more orchestral side of the track into the more heavier side of the track. As an ending to an album, it is big, it's grandiose, it's intense, it's them giving everything they've got to give an amazing ending. We also have Adam Mercer on this track, who brings his own level of gutturals, disgusting style of vocal performance. This track also featured the detuned guitars one last time, and not gonna lie, I think this is the one time where I actually did enjoy them the most. They actually really fit well, and I think the fact that they were given room to breathe a bit more was really helpful. I think the breakdown overall was amazing, and it ends with a harrowing piano to leave us off. So overall, as a debut album, I think it was a really solid first attempt, and in some ways I could even compare it to a lot of albums that have been released by more veteran bands, and it can still hold up against them as well. And to recap, I definitely felt like the first half of the album is definitely the weaker half, showing off the more influence than doing their own thing, even though at moments they do have their own sort of style going into it. It, for the most part, felt kind of them writing more like their influences. But then, of course, it all changes on the second half, where I think if they delved more into the way they wrote their songs on the second half, they could definitely carve a place out for themselves in the deathcore community and stand on their own 2 feet as a very unique band. The mix overall was pretty much a standard deathcore mix. You had your booming drum kit, your chuggy as fuck guitars, the ridiculously compressed vocals, but again, that's the deathcore mix in general. And as I said, the only issue I really had was when the guitars were detuned, and I've explained that already. But overall, I think the mix was fine, and all I can say is really I'm excited for this band. I do see this band going places, and this is a great first step in their career. And with all that being said, I think if I was going to rate this album, I'd definitely give it a solid 7 out of 10. It's a solid 7, and I'm looking forward to see where they go from here. But anyway, I'm going to end the video there. I hope you enjoyed it. Give it a like if you did. And of course, I have my stream on Sunday at 4 p.m. for user-submitted music. And besides that, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!
Hold it right there, worms.
Our detective, we finally meet. I was wondering when you would figure out who I was. Sad to see you let 2 people sacrifice themselves for an identity.
Don't try to shift the guilt in your favor. Now drop the knife and then let's get you in your nice new cell.
Haha, how pathetic. You think you can end my campaign just as it begun? No, this is only the start. The streets will swarm with my precious worms. Yes, you may have seen my face.
Not really. You got that bag over your head.
Oh yeah, you know what, let's just keep it that way. If the point is this is just the start, and it is sad to say this, but I don't expect to see you at the end when this is all over.
Fuck.
Sir, he left something.
Seems to be a calling card. The Worm Shepherd. Interesting name. Tell the squad we need to keep tabs on this. Let's hope we can catch him before any more victims end up sleeping with his flock.